All right, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started on time. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day today. We're going to be going through the next little piece, right, in our big series around QuickBooks Enterprise versus QuickBooks Online Advanced. I know that we have a lot, as you guys know, here at Fourlane, the majority of our clients are in QuickBooks Enterprise. We have more and more, our list is growing, our customer list is growing more and more in QuickBooks Online. And we get people asking us all the time if it's time for them to switch. When will QuickBooks Online be ready for me to switch over to that product? And so that is the idea behind this series. Also, just understanding navigation, right? Things that we're used to. Click here to get to that spot that we're looking for in desktop. How do we get to that same kind of thing inside of QuickBooks Online Advanced? So we are going to go ahead and dive right in. So I'm Marjorie Adams. I'm the CEO of Fourlane. I have been, somebody just pinged into our Slack chat this morning. I've been doing these webinars and videos for a long time. Someone caught on to our 2011 recorded video on customer deposits and gave us a call recently from our YouTube channel. So we just got some old stuff in there. Concepts are still the same, right? Even though the products change, the concepts along the way are still the same. But here are some of our formulas for success with our projects. So we have, of course, we're doing processes, documentation, and training with customers. That is a core part of what we're doing, making sure that people have the proper workflows. We do a lot of product conversion, whether that's moving inside the QuickBooks family or from outside products into QuickBooks. And of course, custom. Custom is one of my favorite things that we've done. So those little tweaks, right? When you leave the QuickBooks space, you go into ERP, you're always going to have little tweaks. We can make those things happen in QuickBooks as well. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? Let's go ahead here. So we're going to be talking about customers, jobs, projects, basically the customer list, right, which jobs and projects are also part of. So what is a customer? So customers are people, B2C if we're doing B2C work, or companies, B2B, to whom we're selling our products and services. That's the intent of the customer list. Doesn't mean it's always used that way, but it's the intent. Jobs are sub-customers. Both QuickBooks Online Advanced and QuickBooks Enterprise have this concept of jobs, which is sub-customers. Okay, so jobs are sub-customers, and we track revenue or expenses for unique opportunities with a customer or a sub-location. We can break them up under jobs. So everything rolls up to the customer. We can see the customer information as a whole, but here's a way to segment the customer revenues and or expenses, and we can use jobs to do that, right? And then we have a concept called projects. Projects is available only in QuickBooks Online. Projects is very similar to jobs. They all reside on the same list, right? They all reside on the customer list. But projects is a little bit different. We're not going to go into it fully because we're going to have a whole other video on jobs versus projects. Projects is a little bit different in that you have a project screen that has a little bit more data, like you have time cards, which time cards are associated with this project. You can't see that quickly in QuickBooks Desktop. Also, it will give some stated costs associated with those times. So it's some pretty neat things. All accounting programs will have customers, right? So that's something that is always there. Not everybody uses customers as customers though, right? So we do have some clients that they don't expect returning business, right? Like it's a one-time product sale because it's not a product that has a big life turnover, right? So you wouldn't need to buy a new one every 2 years or something like that. They're not expecting return customers. They're not doing a lot of KPIs around return customers. And if that's the case, sometimes then we will not recommend to import every customer into their QuickBooks file. And instead, we'll do something a little bit more high level. So maybe we'll do customers who bought from their eBay store versus their Amazon store. So we'll use the list still, because the list is very powerful. You can still track, right, revenue and expenses and do reporting against whatever we put in these fields. But we won't always see them tracked as customers, but the list should always be there. Okay. And then sales and expense transactions in the program will point to this object, right? So whether it's a journal entry, a bill, a check, right? There's going to be the opportunity in both programs to point the transaction, right, the details to a customer, job, project, whatever you're choosing. Okay. All right, so this is what we're going to be going through today with Enterprise versus Advanced. So the first thing we're going to be talking about here is list limitations. So in QuickBooks Online Advanced, you have unlimited customers. In QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop, your customer list is limited to 100,000, and this includes customers and jobs, right, or projects. Projects aren't in Desktop, so, but it includes customers and jobs. So if you have a customer and they have 7 jobs underneath, that is considered 8, right? That's 8 going towards this number. Then we're going to talk about import abilities, when we manually set up a customer, what's the difference, list view customization, and then, of course, clean up abilities on the file as well. So let's start out here in QuickBooks Online Advanced. So when we're accessing our customer list, right, over here under the sales section, we have our customers here. Okay. And when I click into customers, I have a view of, you know, what are my customers looking like. When we're in QuickBooks Desktop, drag it over here. When we're in QuickBooks Desktop, we have a couple different ways to get there too. Some people click here, some people come up here, go to our customer center, but we have a similar view, right? We kind of have an area for customers. Just right up front, you can see though that in the customer section in QuickBooks Online Advanced, they have this little cool bar. How many estimates do I have? How much unbilled activity? How many invoices are past due? How many are total open? So we do have this in Desktop as well. It is just in a different place, right? It is under the income tracker. So you can get there here. You can also get there right here. Similar look and feel. This came after in Desktop, so it's always fascinating. When this came into Desktop, it was after we had it in QuickBooks Online. Already, oh, it's just trying to catch up sometimes, right? You see the two products, making sure that they're pretty level with each other. So in here we can see estimates, sales orders, time and expenses, etc. Same thing, same look and feel, just one extra step to click into it. Now, if you click on any of these boxes, it will show you down below what it's talking about right here, the invoices down below here. To see the details, because it's just showing it by customer project, to see the details, you would have to click through to open up the details here, right? Inside of Desktop, if I'm looking at all my open invoices, it just shows the details down below. All right. So as far as import abilities, so in QuickBooks Online Advanced, when you're in your customer list, you can come in here to import customers. And when you import customers, they can give you a sample file that you can download, which is incredibly helpful. When you open up that sample file, you'll see some examples of what can be imported in, right? So name, company, type, email, phone number, mobile phone, right? Can import opening balances, which we don't even recommend usually. Okay, resale numbers. So you can see the type of information that you can import in. Just fill in this Excel spreadsheet, obviously override the default data that they give you. And then when we come back in here, we just browse, find that Excel spreadsheet, and upload it into your customer list. Inside of QuickBooks Desktop, there are a couple ways to import. We have what we call paste from Excel. So again, if we have it in an Excel format, we can come in here, customize the columns, add in some additional fields, right, than what's available in QuickBooks Online Advanced, and then just copy and paste. Of course, we have under utilities the import IAF files, which we don't always recommend, but they're there. And then if we want to paste from Excel too, you can come in here and it will give you where you can upload a spreadsheet as well, right? So it gives you a sample spreadsheet to fill in. Okay. So the key difference between the two products is what you need to import, and a desktop just has more fields. It's going to have more fields anyway right now. Okay, let's talk about setting up a new customer. This is where you learn the most, I feel like, in the customer list. So if I go in here and I say new customer, so I have up top, title, first name, middle name, last name. I don't know who always uses all these fields. I feel like they shouldn't be used. This is same. Something I learned as well when we implemented Salesforce a couple years ago, like the title field. I said, can we just get rid of this field? And you can't. So it's just crazy. But, it's just usage of white space. That's what I always think about. So you have all these fields here. If we're in desktop and we are adding a new customer, we're going to have the very similar fields, right? Mr., Mrs., first, middle, initial, last. So very similar look and feel. Come down here to the company name. So that's where you would put in what the company name is. Then you have the display as name. This is actually the unique identifier, okay? The display as name. So in QuickBooks Desktop, this is what we call the customer name, right? This is the unique field. And then we have another field for company name, just the same. Coming down, we have print on check as. So this is something different. We don't actually have this in QuickBooks Desktop. So this is if we're giving refund checks or anything like that, right? What do we need to have their name be? Now you can edit it manually, right? But we can't store it at the customer level. We have email addresses. So in QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can track multiple email addresses in here. You just separate them with commas. Important to note when you're importing as well. In desktop, you can put multiple emails in, but they also have spaces for like main email, CC email, so just a little bit more definition. Fax, other website, all of this stuff is pretty standard. Coming down below here, we have, is this a sub-customer of? So this is saying, is this a job, right? So what we're used to calling in QuickBooks Desktop, is this a job? So when you have a job here, you say it has job name, right, instead of customer name, and then over on the side, it has who is this a sub-customer of. So when you are adding an account here, right, I can come in and say, oh, this is a sub-customer of Fourlane. When you are doing it inside of desktop, when I go, I have to choose, am I adding a new customer or am I adding a job? Now, of course, if you accidentally add a customer and it's meant to be a job, you can just drag and drop it, move it underneath, and it will now become a job. This is something different that QuickBooks Online Advanced has that the desktop does not have as well. This concept of bill with the parent, right? Or bill this customer, meaning this level. So do we want to, when we go in to create an invoice, do we want all the time to be pushed up and invoiced at the parent level? Or do we want it invoiced at each individual job level? Basically for multiple jobs. So it allows you to aggregate the revenues at the parent level. Coming down below here, we have the address information, also the shipping information, right? So ship to address, bill to address. We do have the notes field. In desktop, it's a little bit different. They added this a couple years ago where you can add a note and pin it, so you can have several notes in here, right? In online, it's one big field of notes. I don't know that it matters either way. I don't think I've seen very many people use the actual pinned notes and adding several notes through here, but it's there. We have tax information, so what's the resale tax information in here? Payment and billing, so we have preferred payment method, preferred delivery method, so default, right? Do we print or email them? What are their default terms? Okay, so a lot of these fields, same fields we have here under the account information, payment settings, default email method, default payment method. The language, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over this part because this is my least favorite part of both products is this opening balance of, right? In QuickBooks Online Advanced and in QuickBooks Desktop, you can put in opening balance as of. So when you're setting up a customer, you can say, oh, they had an opening balance of $500. This is not the most effective way to put in opening balances. Something that you can do in Enterprise is you can go into preferences and turn the ability to do that off. You can say, I do not want them to, so hide the opening balance field, because I don't want to allow people to put in opening balances that way. It's just kind of can be confusing. So let's say a sales rep is coming in to set up a new customer, and the customer is buying $500 worth of stuff from them. You don't want them to accidentally just put in $500 in here. Skipped over it because that's one of my least favorite parts. Language. So this is something that QuickBooks Desktop does not do, but we get this question quite frequently. So if we need to send invoices to the customer in a different language, right, we have some options. So English, we have French, Spanish, Italian, Chinese, Portuguese. So very cool. It will translate into that language. We do have attachments in here. So just like you can in desktop, you can attach attachments in. The attachments in QuickBooks Online are going to be limited, right? They're not stored locally on your servers. They're going to be stored in the cloud for you. So maximum size of 20 megabytes. We can have custom fields, of course. And then we have the additional information tab where we have customer type. So a couple of the things here to note when it comes to navigating. This was very difficult, you know, when we took on other online products as well. Very difficult to get used to having to click. Right, so when we go through training, we make sure to teach people, like, just scroll through the tabs. I know you may not need to access all of them, but they're helpful reminders of what you might need to put in. In desktop, of course, we've got some quick keys. If you see anything that's underlined, right, you can get to that spot by hitting Alt J. Nope. Oops. Sorry, I hit J already. What came in there? Okay, so navigation might be navigating by not clicking, but now we are in such an online world, most people are used to clicking. So it's just fine. Okay, so that's how to set up a customer and the fields that are available. When we're looking in desktop, the fields that you see in here that might be additional. So we do have price levels available. There's only price rules available in QuickBooks Online, but I'll show you something that's really neat in QuickBooks Online. You can store credit card information on the customer card here. You store it in a different place in online when you receive the payments in. Okay. The other thing is that we do have some job information, start, stop, and everything like that. So you would see more of this information in projects, but not on the jobs here or sub-customers. All right, when we're looking at a list view, okay, so again, focused on navigation, because navigation is what makes us feel the most comfortable with making changes. So when we're looking at a list view, when we're in here, so we do have the clear filters, so we can look all, because I had clicked on, right, look, show me only the open invoices. So now when I click on that, it shows me only open. Now I can clear it back out to show me all. Again, we have this little bit of information bar here. Down below, we have batch actions, right? So I can mass select and do things like create estimates, email, make inactive. I can also mass assign select or customer types. In desktop, if you're going to do batch actions, you can do that in the income tracker. Right? It's limited in what you can do. So I can batch, make sales orders, batch email. They don't have mass inactive in this spot. If we, in desktop, let's say I wanted to make several customers, right? Do inactive. I could come in here and say mass, make them inactive. If we needed to do the same thing in desktop, we would be going into paste from Excel. And then in paste from Excel, we'd have to customize columns and add in that inactive column. Let me go ahead and move it up. Move it up a little bit. So it's here, right? And so then I could go down my customer list. I mean, I could move it over so I could see the customer list and that inactive, but I could just check, right? Gives me warning because that customer has a balance. So, okay. All right, and here too, so if we select the gear up top, we can add additional columns in. So I can add in the address, email address, the customer type. Maybe I want to add that, let's say. Any attachments that we have, we would be able to see those in here. We can choose to include inactive, right? If we didn't have inactive showing here, we can also choose to include projects. Then down below here, as far as rows go, so this is something that's a little bit different when you're in any online product, is they try to utilize space effectively. And so you can see that in the rows section, it'll give me a max of 300 rows. If I have above 300 rows, then at the bottom of the page, it'll say, right, I need to go to the next page, next page, next page. It'll show me 300 at a time in this view, max. Okay. The search feature is really nice and easy to use. So if I search Fourlane, hit enter. All right, well, I don't know why it didn't find Fourlane. Let's see. Well, let's try Marjorie. No. Always love it when it does stuff like that. Let me just refresh. When you're on a webinar, never fails. Let's try picking Nicholas, because this is something I was going to show you. So Fourlane's there. I'm not sure why I didn't pick it up, but let's try picking up Nicholas. Okay, so first of all, it does have type ahead in here, so I can select Nicholas from here. But let me hit enter just because, I don't know why. Always demo files. I don't know why it's not wanting to do search properly. But let me just click on Nicholas then. So if I hit Nicholas, it'll open up Nicholas's information over here. Okay, so it's kind of as if when I click into desktop on a particular customer, right, or job, it kind of gives me this bit of information over on the side. Under here, we have our transaction list tied to these customers, and I can filter for all transactions, all plus deposits, what that means, all invoices, open invoices, overdue invoices, right, money received, statements, so lots of different filters there for different time frames, and we're used to seeing that here too, right? Show all transactions, only balances, right? Only open or overdue. So it's just similar information, just one extra field there. In here with batch actions, we can come in and print transactions, print packing slips, send transactions, or send reminders. Okay. There's lots of different ways to send reminders in desktop. One of the ways that most of our clients use is called the collection center. So you, again, it's an additional step, but you can mass come in here and select and send out reminders. We have our projects tab, which again, we're not going to go into that much here, but we do not have that in desktop, so you won't see that. You do have the customer details. So this one's pretty neat. So it has customer information, email. You can click through the email and it will take you there. Website information, any notes. So it's just a summary, similar to what we have up top here in desktop. Okay. They do have where you can click through and see the map, right? Where's this customer located? Something that Desktop has is they have directions, which will take you from your company address to the address here using Google Maps. But this down below is something that I really like, is that I do have a price rule turned on right now where this customer gets a wholesale discount of 20% and it never expires. So I can see that quickly from the screen, and it takes some work to get to there inside of Desktop. You have to go in and either do it on a transaction to see what the price is, or come into one of the reports around customers and pricing. So neat that it gives it to you right there. They also have a tab for late fees, which I think is pretty cool. So you can decide at the customer level if they're eligible for late fees, yes or no. Should we use the default, which is $25 per invoice? And then you can do some customizations per customer, right, on doing late fees. Same thing. I don't know how many people charge late fees. Maybe a lot in property management, but I don't see too many people who are allowed to charge late fees, right? Maybe I work too much in wholesale distribution. Okay. So one thing that Desktop does, I already mentioned it before, but as far as the ability to clean up, so we can go, right, a sub account. So if I wanted flight to be a sub account under Peacock Homes here, I can just drag and drop it. Oops, it's not in its original order. That's why it's not letting me. So let's say I wanted to go under test, I can just drag and drop it. When you're in QuickBooks Online Advanced, if you need to make modifications to the customers, so like let's say I wanted customer A to be a sub-account of Fourlane, I would come in here, make it a sub-account of, and type in Fourlane. Okay. So now it got moved under Fourlane. If I go back to my customer list here, you see customer A is under there now. If you wanted it to customer A to be a sub under Kristen, right? Or Kristen Berman here, so I could make it a sub down. So you could do a similar thing inside of Desktop, or I could make it a sub of a sub if I needed to. If you're going too far deep like this, though, we probably have better ways to organize and categorize your data. So very similar feel. Okay. Coming back to the customer list here, let's see, maybe if it's, well, usually under the customer list, there is a checkbox that says that you can have a different view. It just does like a more condensed rows view, because these rows tend to be kind of thick, right? And so it does a little bit more collapsed rows. I'm not quite sure why that's not showing right now, but it should be showing up here under the gear. And then as far as merging customers, so this will be the last thing I'll go through. So when you are in QuickBooks Desktop, let's say we wanted Baxter Street and Elmwood Drive to be merged. So when I click and edit Elmwood Drive, so they do have to be at the same level. So I have to, it has to be under Peacock Homes if we're going to merge two jobs together. But I can take Elmwood Drive, this field, job name, rename the other one, job name, and it will allow us to merge them together. Tells us all the warnings. In Desktop, you can do the same thing. So if I wanted John here to be merged into Jenny, I would come in and edit John, and it's the display as name, and that name being exact is how you merge them together. So you can still do cleanup if you need to, if we've accidentally, I don't know how to, bank feeds feed in a new customer and we need to merge the details together. Okay. All right. So that's all I've got for you today. I am going to do a quick poll, just asking which software do you currently use. I am fascinated to learn what people are up to nowadays. If you guys have any additional questions, please make sure to go ahead and stick them in chat. I am happy to hang out. Last week I had to hop off quickly to get on a meeting with Intuit, but I'm happy to hang out for a minute if anybody has any questions. And as always, you can always email us after this call as well. But I hope you took away some important stuff today. The products are very similar. There's a couple extra things that you can do in desktop, a lot of which people don't always use. So definitely coming a long way in the customer list abilities. All right. So I'm seeing that we have 67% audience in desktop, 25% in online, and 8% not in QuickBooks at all. You're missing out on all the fun. Okay, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.